What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. I'm your host today, Mike Tagliere, filling in for Kyle Yates. It's not gonna lie, it's a little weird being here on a Thursday. Lots of other stuff going on. The primer went up this morning, so everything is fresh off the mind. Obviously, I still have some more stuff to do this week, but I'm gonna do my best to fill in here and answer some start-sit questions, trade questions, whatever you guys have for me. I'm here to talk to you guys for about the next 45 minutes or so. So thank you as always for showing up. If you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor, click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't, what the heck are you waiting for? But yeah, I don't have any injury news to go over today like I do on the Sunday morning show. And by the way, if you guys are coming here because you're used to coming here during the week, on Sunday, do a live Sunday show. An hour at 11 a.m. Eastern time here on the channel, and go through start-sit questions, talk about all the injuries that have taken place throughout the week, and basically give you an idea what to expect of the players that are stepping in for those that are injured. So, yeah, it's just a little bit different show today, but again, I'm going to be trying to answer as many questions as I can for you guys on your way to hopefully fantasy playoffs, championship, whatever you want to do. So thank you guys for stopping by again. I appreciate it, and let's get into the questions. Number one, AJ asks Hyde or Chase Edmonds, and that's if Carson's out. If Carson is out, and so Alex Collins was sent back down to the practice squad. I've been so busy this morning I did 2 podcasts already, where I haven't seen anything just yet in regards to Alex Collins. But if Carson's out, Carlos Hyde is active and Collins is inactive, so it's basically just Carlos Hyde and DJ Dallas. I'm going to move Carlos Hyde into my top 24 running backs this week, and I would play him over Chase Edmonds. Edmonds is a guy that obviously needs a little bit more of a negative game script in order to take over for Kenyon Drake. He's involved in a lot more third down passing work. They did give him some carries last week, but it wasn't a lot. They gave more to Drake, obviously, and that was Drake's first game back, so I thought that they may have been easing him in a little bit. But it is a high-scoring game. You want to attack these, but the one of these 2 running backs that does get goal line carries is Carlos Hyde. So I would play Hyde over Edmonds if Carson's out and Collins is out. If Collins plays, it's really difficult. It's like a toss-up between those guys because I don't know if I wish I had that information in front of me, guys, but I don't. But again, I'm going to be paying attention to the pregame show, learning about what the Seahawks' plan is, because typically it's leaked, 45 minutes before the game what their plan is with the running backs. But as of now, let's plan on Carlos Hyde. Kieran, James Robinson or Kenyon Drake? I'm going to go with James Robinson just because he's guaranteed the majority of his team's carries, touches anyways. I think I was going through this, and I mentioned it in the primer this week, is that James Robinson is on pace to shatter what Leonard Fournette did last year, and we played Fournette every single week as an RB1. He didn't score touchdowns, but he was reliable for volume. That's basically what you're looking for. Kenyon Drake is someone that should get some volume on first and second down. The Seahawks have been a better run defense than they have pass defense, and it's a reason that teams have chosen to pass the ball 65% of the time against them. That's the league high. So if Kenyon Drake, he can get game scripted out of this game. He hasn't had a game with more than 2 targets all season, so I'm a little bit worried about Kenyon Drake's role getting game scripted out. He could score a touchdown, which could totally salvage his day. I could see that, but James Robinson's just a safer bet, even if it is a brutal matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin asked Kirk Cousins or Tua full PPR. I mean, I'm a little worried about Tua. He's averaging 25 pass attempts per game since taking over the starting gig. Denver has started to leak a lot of production on the ground, and that's because they've had some injuries on the defensive line that have opened things up. So over the last 3 weeks, I think they've allowed 4 top 12 running back performances against them. So we should see Salvan Ahmed basically take over in that game and finish as a top 24 running back, maybe even surprise as a top 15 running back. So I do like Ahmed this week, even with Matt Breida coming back. So I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins here. We actually just recorded the DFS show about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago. And I talked about Dalvin Cook and the concern about he just got 30 carries in a game against the Bears where he kept running into a brick wall. And now they're going to be traveling, or they're not traveling, they're going back home to play against the Cowboys, who are coming off their bye. So the Cowboys are a fresh team. The Vikings are only going to have 5 days in between games. Dalvin Cook's dealing with a lot of bruises right now, trying to get his body right for this game. It should be a good game for him, but at the same time, we could see more Cousins than usual just because of the short week. I'm gonna go with Cousins just because both of them are not guaranteed more than 25 pass attempts, sadly. But whereas Kirk Cousins, the matchup against the Cowboys, I would say is slightly better than the matchup against the Broncos secondary. What's up, James Sampson? How you doing, buddy? Robert asked DK or Juju. Standard, thanks. I'm gonna go with DK. We know that Tyler Lockett is dinged up. We know that he's going to be playing at this game at less than 100%. And I understand that Lockett demolished this team the last time they played, but it was kind of like a pick your poison, right? Because you can beat the Cardinals in different ways. They don't have their best pass rusher, Chandler Jones. They just lost one of their best interior defensive linemen for the year, Corey Peters. Patrick Peterson's a good cornerback, but he's not a shutdown cornerback anymore. He's a guy that he will limit production a little bit. Whereas like I'm guessing he's going to follow around DK, but if you leave DK in one-on-one coverage, he could beat anybody. So I'm going to play DK over Juju. And the reason I say that is because Juju is a guy that, with the Steelers, we talk about this, right? And I'm ranking them all high. You have to start Steelers wide receivers if you have them, basically. But understand that they're going to cannibalize the production that each other can have. Because, again, Eric Ebron's getting good targets. Deontay Johnson's getting 10 targets in any full game he's played. Chase Claypool's breakout player, like candidate for Rookie of the Year. And then Juju, obviously coming on as late. But, again, 4 of these guys can't produce every single week. So they're going to, some are going to let down. So you want to eliminate that risk. Whereas DK and Tyler Lockett are really all they have for Seattle, like producing in the passing game. So I'm going to ride DK there. JJ. Hunter Henry or Hayden Hurst, full PPR. I'll go with Hunter Henry. The matchup against the Jets is fantastic wherever you look. They can kind of do whatever they want. If there's anything that the Jets are, I'd say, slightly above average against, it's the run. So we should see Justin Herbert throw for quite a bit here. It's been a very disappointing year for Hunter Henry, especially based on how well Justin Herbert has played. I think you'd have to go back to like week 4 to find the last time Hunter Henry topped 33 yards receiving or 40 yards, something like that. It's kind of ridiculous. Hurst has been consistent, but the matchup this week is a lot tougher against New Orleans. Outside of that game where they allowed Darren Waller to kind of go bananas, they've been a pretty good defense against tight ends. So it's a really close one. I'm going to pull up my rankings just to make sure on that one, because sometimes, like, again, we're early in the week here. I have Hayden Hurst at 9. I have Hunter Henry up there at 5. So it's Hunter Henry for me. All right, let's see. Clint asked Tua or Jameis. Oh, this is Jameis for sure. Again, I already talked about Tua and the fact that his ceiling is limited. Again, they're not having him throw the ball a whole lot. Denver has opened up against the run. I expect them to be run heavy in that game. Whereas Jameis, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's no risk with Jameis. They could bench him for Taysom Hill at any point. But at the same time, against Atlanta, it's a team that I was just looking at this. They allow 17% more fantasy points than their opponent's average in non-Falcons games. That's kind of ridiculous. That's a massive bump in production. Jameis is obviously auditioning for a job next season. That's where he's at in his career, where he was lucky to get a 1-year contract. He took less money apparently to go to the Saints, but he wanted to learn from Sean Payton and Drew Brees. So this is his shot. Fortunately, it's like the best matchup. Like, honestly, I don't know if there's another matchup that I would rather have for Jameis Winston than the Falcons in his first game. So I'm going Jameis. I have him ranked as a top 12 quarterback. Let's see. Chase Edmonds or Michael Pittman, half PPR. I'm going to go with... Let's go with Edmonds. I mean, at least we get guaranteed touches with him. It is a game that's got a 57.5 point over-under. Typically, there's a lot of scoring there, and it could lead to a back-and-forth shootout between those two teams, and Edmonds is involved in the passing game a lot more than Kenyon Drake. So not necessarily game script dependent, because he's going to have a role regardless, but it would help if they fell behind the Seahawks, which... I mean, if you look at the line in this game, I think that what does it move to? Seattle was favored by 3 points. It's 2.5 now. Still, they're still projected to win that game. So that, let's see. All right, the over in that game dropped to 57. Okay. So yeah, Pittman, we've seen a small sample size of things going in the right direction. The good news is if he has another decent week, even if he gets like 6-7 targets in this game and doesn't produce a whole lot against the Packers, that's fine as long as he's getting that volume, because next week they're going against the Titans again, so you got to like him there. So I would take it easy with Pittman, just make sure it wasn't just like a flash in the pan. All right, let's see. K Breezy asked Tyler Lockett or Deontay Johnson. Oh, this one is so tough, especially considering Tyler Lockett's injury. The last time he played them, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. How do we pass on that, right? It's really difficult, but what we do know is that Tyler Lockett has not, in the past, he has not produced extremely well when he's played through injuries. That's something that we do know. I might remove the risk and just play Deontay Johnson, to be honest. Johnson's got a great matchup. I've already talked about them cannibalizing each other, and that is a concern for sure. But again, Tyler Lockett, if you go back to the second half of last year, I think it was, there was an injury around the midpoint of the season, and Tyler Lockett wasn't the same player ever again. So, on a short week playing through a knee injury, I don't know. I'd probably just remove risk and play Deontay Johnson. It's close though. Tyler asked Taysom Hill or Schultz PPR. I mean, if you have a chance to play Taysom Hill in a tight end slot, use it to your advantage and play him, because he's going to have a bigger role. Okay, so going from Drew Brees to Jameis Winston, we're not going to pretend that the Saints are going to do the same game plan. Taysom's going to be involved regardless, and if Jameis struggles for whatever reason, or he turns the ball over for whatever reason, they can go to Taysom, and it could lead to a lot of fantasy points. It's not like Schultz is guaranteed a whole lot of production. I mean, it is a good matchup for him against Minnesota, but I would rather play Taysom Hill if you can in the tight end slot. Honestly, tight end, if Taysom Hill is available in your league, I would play him over, I think, all but like 6 tight ends. That's kind of where I am with Taysom Hill. So, yeah. Just abuse the system, basically, is how I feel about it. All right. Let's see. Full PPR, should I trade Ridley for Mike Thomas? They're right in the same range, to be honest, and they're so close. I mean, if Ridley's not going to play this week, I probably would. We have to pay attention to that because, again, Ridley was very limited in practice yesterday, apparently. And if he doesn't play this week, I am worried about this because now it's been a couple weeks, and if he's still not right, it may not be right for the rest of the season. Foot injuries can tend to linger. Michael Thomas, I know he hasn't lived up to expectations. One game was against the Bucs, brutal matchup. Last week was a disappointment against San Francisco, I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, against Atlanta, you're buying his stock at the bottom dollar right now. I don't know if I would trade Ridley for him if I knew Ridley was healthy, but if we find out that Ridley's not going to play this week, then I probably would, just because you're getting an extra week out of Michael Thomas in a good matchup. Lockett or McLaurin? I'd go McLaurin there. McLaurin's in the similar range as Deontay Johnson, actually a little bit higher, just because McLaurin's a guy that, he's seeing a ridiculous, I think 42% of the team's air yards, which would have led the league last year. The opportunity is just there for him. And the matchup is definitely not bad. So I would go at McLaurin and just remove the risk. Hunter asked Carlos Hyde or David Johnson. Well, David Johnson's not playing, so it's definitely Carlos Hyde. Let's see. Chris asked full PPR flex. T. Higgins, Kalen Ballage, Ahmed, or Myers. Oh, Jacoby Myers. Okay, it's just I read it as Jason Myers. I'm like, why is there a kicker? All right, so T. Higgins I have as like a low end wide receiver 2, high end 3. Ballage is a low end RB2, and then Ahmed is right there next to him in my rankings. Jacoby Myers is not one I would consider among those guys. In a full point PPR. Man, it's really tough to pass on the guaranteed touches, especially Ballage, because he's been involved in the passing game. Basically, Josh Kelly, he didn't have any catches last week, so Ballage took over that role against the Jets, his former team. I would anticipate 15-plus touches. I'm probably going to play Ballage here. T. Higgins, I like, but against Washington, they've been really good against wide receivers. However, there is an asterisk here that basically says Washington has not faced a whole lot of wide receiver targets. I was looking through this. I'm going to find the stat so I can tell you guys. The reason I kind of like Joe Burrow a little bit more than usual, than most people would this week, is because where to go? I'm trying to find it. Basically, teams have targeted their wide receivers just like, I want to say it's like 18% of the time. I'm not mistaken. I can't find it. For whatever reason, I'm struggling with this, guys. But anyways, the Washington basically hasn't seen a whole lot of wide receiver targets. Teams haven't targeted them a whole lot. But then you look at the Bengals offense and see how often they target their wide receivers. And it's like, okay, something can be exposed here. And if you see wide receivers get a lot of targets against Washington, they can produce. And T. Higgins has been so damn good. If you were to, like, again, this is in the primer. Since joining the starting lineup in week 3, Higgins has totaled numbers that over a 16-game season would basically be equivalent to what Chris Godwin did last year. And Chris Godwin was an every week start. So I like Higgins, but it's at the same time, there is some unknown in terms of like how do they change their game plan based on Washington? Is it their scheme or is it just the offenses they've played? So I would probably go Ballage just because he's guaranteed 15 plus touches, and that's really difficult to pass up. But you've got some good options there. This might be the time of the year if you can still do trades where you start looking at that and saying, I might want to make a few trades because I don't want to have this decision every single week. But But yeah, but again, Balaj and Ahmed aren't going to have value like they do the rest of the season when Eckler and Myles Gaskin come back. Nick asks, Cam, Kirk, or Wentz? I'll go Cam here. Cam has been terrible as a passer, but he still offered fantasy value as a rusher. And, well, Houston is the team. I mean, Houston allows more production on the ground than anybody in the league. So they should be able to run the ball on them, whether it be Cam, Damian Harris, whatever. But Cam should have some points, a decent floor. And we know his ceiling is there against Houston. Whereas Kirk, definitely a run-heavy offense that he doesn't have any mobility. So if he's not passing, he's not scoring. And then Wentz has been so damn bad. I don't think that I'm not as low on Wentz as some people are in terms as a fantasy asset, but yeah, he's not someone you have to play right now. So I'll go Cam. Let's see. William McHugh, Hyde or Ahmed in standard? I think I go Ahmed. It's close because I need to find out about the Seattle backfield in terms of who's going to be active for the Seahawks. Because if Hyde, Collins, and DJ Dallas are all active, it would make me lean towards Ahmed for sure. But if it's basically just Hyde and DJ Dallas, I'd probably go Hyde. It's really close between those two though. Ahmed is definitely the safe option right now. Let's see. Boyd, Higgins, Edmonds need flex, half PPR. Boyd should get targets. Matchup. I have Higgins as a better play than Boyd this week. And then Edmonds. Yeah, I'd probably play T. Higgins in that situation. Play for the upside. Because, again, he's been just so dang good. I really just don't want to bench. Oh, there it is. There's the stat I was looking for. All right. So, Washington has faced 16.1 wide receiver targets per game. That is ridiculously low. The Bengals target their wide receivers 27.9 times a game. So there's a clash here, right? And I would expect the Bengals offense to operate like they typically do. I mean, they've allowed 8.4 yards per target to wide receivers when they have been targeted, which is the 14th most in football. So I'll probably go with T. Higgins here. I'll take on a little bit of risk with Higgins rather than the floor, I guess, of Chase Edmonds. All right, let's see here. Pick 2 in PPR, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Zeke, McKissick, Drake. Zeke is 1 for sure. It's just too big of a workload to pass up. And then it comes down to Clyde Edwards-Helaire or McKissick. This is a full PPR, so Drake, unfortunately, I mean, he has not seen more than 2 targets in any single game. So if this game turns into a negative game script, it's problematic for him. He was limited in practice, I think, on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Tuesday. McKissick, a lot of targets, not a whole lot of production. The opportunity's been there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, oh man. So the Raiders are basically missing their entire defense. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but basically almost everyone was sent home on that team. So the game planning is going to be really, really difficult for them. I've also thought about the Chiefs this week and that, they're coming out of their bye, and this is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. We know that. We know they're built to win a Super Bowl. We've seen it. But if you don't run the ball consistently, that's problematic because any quarterback, even Patrick Mahomes, can have an off day, and you do not want to lose because he's having an off day. So I wonder if the Chiefs come out of this bye week and try and reestablish that run, try and get back to the basics of an Andy Reid offense and say, hey, we know we can throw the ball. That's not a problem. We can always fall back to that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like among running backs that have seen, I think, like 100 or more carries, Clyde Edwards-Helaire ranks 3rd in yards per carry. So it's not that he's not running the ball well. It's just that he hasn't gotten a whole lot of volume. So I'd play Clyde Edwards-Helaire over McKissick, even though it is a PPR format. I just think that the ceiling is higher. That's where I'd go. Let's see. Ryan asks, he tags, hey, full PPR start 1 at running back, Drake, Taylor, or Ahmed. In a full PPR, this one's probably Ahmed. Again, Kenyon Drake in PPR, he takes a big hit. It's almost like a Derrick Henry effect, right? But with a guy that can be game scripted out, where Derrick Henry's just going to get carries. I'd probably go Ahmed. He did run the most pass routes among those Dolphins running backs. It's a little bit worrisome that they have Matt Breida coming back, but let's not pretend that Breida's been anything special this year or he's been that good. I'd probably go Ahmed. It's close, though. It is. But Drake, we can't forget, even before Drake was hurt, he played against Seattle, and I think he had like 40-some yards rushing. That was it. It isn't a great matchup on the ground for them. So I guess I'd go Ahmed in a full PPR. T. Higgins greater than Kirk and Devontae Parker greater than. I am so confused, Skywalker. Tyler asks, start 1 PPR, Giovanni Bernard, Carlos Hyde, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'd probably go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Of them, Giovanni Bernard, the matchup against Washington is not great. Last week, DeAndre Swift was the first running back this year who's caught more than 3 passes or 30 yards against Washington. So it's not, and that's where Giovanni Bernard's strengths are. So if they're not getting him a whole lot of targets, if he's not getting a lot of whole production there, it's worrisome. And the Bengals, for whatever reason, I don't know what happened, but Samaje Perine and Travion Williams both got both got a lot of touches last week. It could have been game script. It could have been them being blown out. I don't know. We still have to worry about Joe Mixon playing. It doesn't seem like he's going to, though. Hyde, there's question marks about. I'd play Edwards-Helaire. He tags Winston or Wentz and Jonnu or Taysom Hill. So I'm going to go with Winston for sure. I'll take that. There's risk with both quarterbacks, but Winston has he hasn't given us reason to doubt him this year, and then Wentz has, and the matchup is better for Winston. As for Jonnu and Taysom Hill, I'd play Taysom Hill. Jonnu has, what does he have, 6 targets over the last 3 or 4 weeks? It's terrible. This offense has taken a big turn downhill ever since they lost Taylor Lewan. They're starting left tackle, and it's problematic. We're starting to see it affect Tannehill's numbers. We're seeing it affect Derrick Henry's numbers. But yeah, it's definitely worrisome. So I'd play Taysom. Let's see here. Nick asks Higgins or Kirk. I'll play Higgins. I like Kirk, but I'll go with Higgins. Jared asked full PPR Hines or Taylor. I think you have to go with Nyheim Hines right now, especially in a full PPR format where he's going to be involved in the passing game a little bit. The hope is that he picks up where he left off. He looked like the best running back on that team, but the Packers have allowed production everywhere, through the air, on the ground to running backs. That's how you attack the Packers. And, it seems like Jordan Wilkins may have gotten benched after he basically alligator-armed that red zone target that could have easily led to a pick 6. Luckily, it didn't. So I think this is down to Hines and Taylor. I think they both have value this week, but Hines in a PPR. The Ochos, standard scoring, Antonio Brown, Pittman, Mike Williams, Rager, start 1. Give me Mike Williams against the Jets, man. The Jets are terrible. That secondary is brutal. They just cut Pierre Desir this week, one of their starting cornerbacks, because he's been bad. But their backup cornerbacks, Bryce Hall, who I do like Bryce Hall. I liked him as a prospect, but he hasn't really played this year. I think he's seen 1 target to this point, so they might have him play, or they're going to play Corey Ballantyne, a cornerback who was cut from the Giants. The Giants need cornerbacks, and they cut him. Basically, the Jets are just taking everybody else's garbage, and they're being garbage themselves. So Mike Williams. Andy asks, PPR start Drake tonight or hope for Mixon to play? I'd play Drake. I don't think Mixon's going to play. I have Henderson as well. No, I don't like Henderson this week. I'll play Drake. Connor asks, pick 1 PPR, Kirk, Ahmed, Godwin, or Edmonds. Ahmed, probably, is where I'd go. Just give me the guaranteed touches from him. Kirk has upside for sure. Godwin's matchup in the slot isn't as bad as on the perimeter for Antonio Brown, but it's not a great matchup against the Rams. I'll play Ahmed there. Armando asked James Conner or James Robinson, full PPR. Give me James Conner. I know he's been a bit disappointment in the last few weeks, but I can't see the Steelers continuing to just almost ignore running the ball. James Robinson's matchup is terrible against the Steelers. There's just no upside there, right? So the floor, it's probably a little bit higher, I guess, with Robinson, but I'll sacrifice a little bit of floor to get the ceiling with Connor. Mr. Horgs, Flex 1, Cooper Kupp, DJ Chark, Savon Ahmed. Oh, man. In a full PPR. Ahmed is definitely someone I want to play, but Cooper Kupp I like a lot against Tampa. Tampa's strengths are on the perimeter. Cooper, he should be targeted a lot over the middle of the field. In a full PPR, wow. I guess I'll say Kupp just because of that small little bit of doubt that I have with Matt Breida. I'm really hoping they don't give Breida more than 6 to 8 touches, but it's possible. Under Armour asked half PPR pick 2 Deontay Johnson, Justin Jefferson, Giovanni Bernard, Duke Johnson. Whew. That is a great question. I want to know what wide receivers you have where you have to choose two of these guys, because seriously, these two wide receivers should be in lineups this week. Justin Jefferson coming off a career game. I have him ranked lower than Deontay Johnson this week, so I'd prefer Deontay because I know the target share for Deontay is 10. When he's in the lineup and he's played a full game, he's gotten 10 targets. Justin Jefferson has seen 5 targets, I think, in 4 of the last 6 games, 4 or 5 or less, I should say. So it's been a little volatile there. The Cowboys' opponents have run the ball a lot. The Vikings, we know, want to run the ball a lot. So it could cut down on those. Jefferson could beat the Cowboys' corners, not a problem, but the volume's an issue. Giovanni Bernard, Duke Johnson, both guaranteed volume. Not particularly high ceiling plays. Duke Johnson is interesting. I have Duke Johnson over Gio. So I could tell you this. I have Deontay over Jefferson. I have Duke Johnson over Gio. Duke Johnson, we know that he's getting 90% of the touches in that Houston backfield. The concern is that it's not that the Patriots are good. They're not. Their defense is not good. They're actually one of the worst defenses in the NFL right now. But nobody wants to admit that. The concern is the low volume in that game. Patriots opponents are averaging like 57 plays per game. That's really problematic, especially for Duke Johnson, who's not involved in the passing game a whole lot. And I do anticipate the Patriots to just drain that clock and run a slow-paced game. That's my concern with Duke. I mean, I might just play the 2 wide receivers there, guy. I mean, I understand it comes with a little bit more risk, but I think that I might just play the receivers. I like them both. Salim, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Chark, Woods, Boyd, T. Higgins, pick 2. Let's see. My ranking, I would have it as T. Higgins is number 1 for sure. And then I think Boyd. Then Chark. Let me see. I'll pull it up just so I can tell you honestly. If you guys are just joining us, thank you so much for being here. It's as I mentioned, I'm kind of a little bit off schedule today, just because Thursdays I'm not typically here. But if you guys haven't yet, do me a favor, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. It does help us out, and we want to keep doing video content. If you guys like it, think about it. All right, so the ranking I have is Higgins, Boyd, Woods, and Chark are right next to each other. So so it would be Boyd and Higgins are the 2 I would play. Adam asks Pittman or Hyde flex PPR. I'm going to go with Hyde there. Give me the guaranteed touches. Pittman, I'm watching Pittman very closely. The matchup against the Packers has not been very good. Another team that's only faced, I think, 58 plays per game. We know that the Colts want to be a run-heavy team. They really should be against the Packers this week, play keep away. I expect that to be a lower scoring game than the 51 implied total. I think that's what it was last time I checked it. I'm going to look at it just so I can be sure now that I'm talking about it. Yep, it sits at 51. I like the under in that game. So yeah, so Pittman is more like a wait and see guy, and if you really wanted to play him, next week is going to be a good matchup for him. Super Wheelie, hey Tags, no question. Just wanted to say Tennessee is a great state to live in, and very excited for you and your family. I'm sure you will love it. Congrats. Thank you, Super Wheelie. I appreciate that. I look forward to it. Our whole family does. So thank you. Ramen asks half PPR Balaj or Connor. I'm going to go with Connor. The matchup is really good. Balaj against the Jets. I'm not going to say that I don't like Balaj. I have him as a borderline top 20 running back. Might be number 20. But the concern is that the Jets are a better run defense than they are pass defense. They don't need to run the ball a whole lot, but running backs have averaged like 29 touches per game against the Jets. And if he's not sharing a workload too much, you kind of got to like him. But I'll go Connor. The matchup's just too good. All right. Fabian asks, hey Tags, greetings from Bavaria, half PPR, Ahmed or Carlos Hyde. I mean, let's remove the risk here from Hyde. I think let's go with Ahmed. It's very close though. If Collins inactive and Carson out, Carlos Hyde or Giovanni Bernard, I'd go Hyde. Again, Gio is like a low end RB2. I'm not shy about starting other running backs over him this week against Washington. It's just not a smash spot at all or anything like that. So, all right, pick 2: Damian Harris, Kalen Balaj, Chase Edmonds. Pick 2 PPR.